Okay, is like, oh, it's 5 after. All right, so Vicky, are we,
I just started recording.
okay. If, so we want to, I guess, always try to recognize our SBDC folks. So let's see if you can do that right quick. I'll
Yep.
rearrange my screen and get us ready.
Okay. We have Whitney, Jill, and Chip and Barbara from Mississippi. And that's all. That's all the tech coaches, SBDC.
Barbara, you have uh, formed a coup. You've taken over Oklahoma as you've
Yes.
unseated them.
Wait, let me record this. I'm gonna send it to Jessica.
Yeah.
It's in recording.
It's
All she'll have to do is listen to it. All right. So we've been busy with a lot of stuff. And for those of you that keep coming back each week, I hope this has been good for you. We've got we're continuing to try. I've got a person that I've known for a while that has been a IBM salesperson for years, and he's one of his mottos that he's used that has worked very well for him at IBM is always make the party bigger. And so we've been trying to make the party bigger. And so we're excited about Hawaii has formally become a MAC, the group that we've been working with, as well as Ohio. We were inviting Kevin Miyashiro to come speak at our conference. And it looks like if we can make it happen, we're going to work with them and some of their clients. So for those of you that are here, that's part of what we've been hoping for is to go beyond the Midwest or the middle US and make what we do part of a national program. And whether or not people come from across the entire United States or the nodes, the regional nodes come. If they come and participate, then we've got that. And that's what I've been hoping for with what I call the MAC Collaborative. That's basically a non-legal group that's been working together. So good news for you guys, ways to connect further, because we've been wanting to connect you vertically towards, like Scott was saying a while ago, with CENTCOM as an example, or SOCOM. But we also want to get you connected horizontally to where there's other tracks, whether it's DoD specific, or it's another federal agency, or it's commercial, non-federal altogether. So any way we can connect you guys, we're excited to do. So that's good news. So with that in mind, any questions or comments about the last few weeks before we move forward with anyone? Everyone good? Okay. Well, then we'll go ahead and I got Bill queued up, so hopefully I can share my screen and see if I can get him to talk, and we'll get started. He speaks about 20 minutes and some good information. If you have questions along the way, please write them in the chat or hit your hand icon, raise your hand, and hopefully Vicky will see it if I don't. And we'll be glad to pause along the way to try to answer any questions. This one may create a few more questions since it's the pitch portion of this. It tends to happen that way. But anyway, with that in mind, don't be bashful if you have a question along the way. We'd rather try to catch it while he's presenting it. And make sure you guys can hear this.
Start out by
Let me
talking
turn
about preparing for your book. We're going to be sending you.
Is that loud enough? That sounds a little low.
Yeah, it needs to be a
It's my fault.
Okay. See if that did it or not. Give me just a second. Oh, there we go. I think that'll, hopefully this,
pitch deck, which is actually based on the quad chart, the original draft quad chart that we sent you. It's going to be an opportunity to go a little deeper into your technology.
all right, how's that?
Better.
Good.
Better,
Does it need to be a little louder?
yes.
Not going to be a sales pitch. Really think about the difference between a technology pitch and a sales pitch. So if you don't already have a presentation in mind, here's going to be at least a starting point for you. We're going to start out looking at the quad chart. Basically, what we're going to do is map your quad chart to a pitch deck. If you look at the quadrant 1, upper left, we're going to walk through that. So we'll start out with a slide, a title slide. And then the next slide is going to be quadrant 1, that one sentence description of your technology. So then the second slide is going to be the bullet points under that sentence. But if you think about this as we're walking through this, you can basically take each one of your sections in the quad chart and just divide them up in pages in your slide deck. So the next slide's going to be quadrant 2, the items in quadrant 2, and then a second slide after that would be if you want to split out your bullet points in quadrant 2. Then on to the next quadrant, quadrant 3 in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to be splitting that into, putting that all into one slide, and then you can have a second slide if you want to split into a second slide. And then as we go down to the fourth quadrant, we're going to be talking about going to start off with the TRL and the scaling information. I put that on one slide, then the timeline information on the other. And then the following slide, the last slide would be your summary slide. And I don't have anything to draft in that necessarily. That's something you really want to put the final touches on. So as you go through this, keep in mind that this is just a draft of what it would look like. So what I would recommend, and this is why we had you start on the quad chart, I would recommend going through your quad chart, your finalized quad chart, and actually just copying and pasting the information over into the appropriate place into this draft to have an updated draft of your most important information. And remember to remove the red comments, of course. When you add graphics, you can move text blocks, change titles. This is just a draft to get you started if you need it. You can definitely use your own format for your pitch deck. You don't have to use this. But remember, you've already gone through a lot of work to emphasize in your quad chart what is most important, and then to flesh it out in the information paper. You've already decided what's most important to get across. So don't just start with a company pitch that you have from somewhere else and use it. You might be able to use the basic format structure, but remember, that's probably a sales pitch, not a technology pitch. A lot of times people ask me if they can use a pitch that they already have. And I always say, what is it? And it's almost always the wrong pitch. And think about it. You want to make sure and incorporate your best effort that you've already decided on. So now in the last slide, in that summary slide, that's where I would put the ask. Normally, probably at the end here, You might say it right up front at the beginning, depending on your personal style. What is it that you want to get out of meeting with these Tech Scouts? Now remember, they don't have check writing ability. So if you just get up there and say, I want you to write me a check for $1 million to get this done, they can't necessarily do that. But they might be able to provide you introductions to people that would be very interested in technology that might be able to do that. They might, I've seen them refer to places to get testing and evaluation done. Sometimes they can actually circumvent some processes and help you get that kind of testing done very quickly. I've seen that happen. General feedback, ideas where they might pursue different places in the military that you should be talking to. So those are the kinds of things that you want to have in your ask, and be very upfront about it. One thing that I would expect in your pitch, right at the beginning, if you have served in the military, I would encourage you to say that. You don't have to dwell on it. You can say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm CEO of such and such a company, and I'm also a former Marine or whatever. That connects with the Tech Scouts as well. And a lot of times they will say, thank you for your service right then. It might open up a conversation later on with them at some kind of a networking session. Say, hey, you said you were in the Marines, you know, what general area were you in? Something like that. So I would definitely consider saying that, or maybe just one or two sentences about what you were doing. Now, as a suggestion, I would say you want to make sure that you get done in your allotted time window with your pitch, so you have time for Q&A. But here's a suggestion for you: if you want to have some additional slides after that summary slide that you've actually planned, anticipated questions that might be asked. You might be able to go into more detail, or maybe have a chart or two or in there that would go into further detail in case there's a question that comes up. Remember, you got a short time window, so you can't cover everything you would like to. But if somebody asks you a specific question, instead of saying, wow, I wish I had a chart for this, I can say, well, hey, let me just flip down here a second and we'll talk about that. I wondered if somebody might want to know more. Also, just if there's a lull in the Q&A time, I would maybe pick something that you could go deeper into, some aspect of it, or an example of an application. Having some of those prepared slides like that, even if it's just a couple of them, it really makes you look professional and prepared when questions come up, that you are ready to field them and you've anticipated them. And you can just say, I didn't go into that detail for my presentation because I didn't go into that much detail unless I thought I would if somebody brought the question up. So now we're going to talk about areas of focus. Just think about these things as you're working on this document. I've already said you want to kind of track what you've already said in your quad charter and information paper, emphasizing the technology, not the company. Emphasize how it can help the warfighter. And this is very important. This isn't just, hey, this would be a really neat civilian product. They are here specifically. They may refer you to people in the commercial sector, but their primary job is to help the warfighter get their job done more efficiently and bring them home safely. So tie it back to the warfighter, especially in quadrant 3. Tie back to what do you do for them, either directly or indirectly supporting them through better situational awareness, support some kind of capabilities, a new capability or an enhanced capability. Focus on what it can do, not a detailed explanation of how it works. Don't get down in the weeds of all the details of how it works, just that it works. Here's what it does. That will also keep you out of the intellectual property realm. So you can give them a teaser, but you're not advertising to everybody all the details of your secret sauce. You may give them enough information to show a basic plausibility, like, I'm doing this. I'm adding this capability because I'm able to do this at a different level or at a different amplitude, or maybe I can enhance it in some ways due to some new technology that has just come around the corner. But you don't have to give a lot of details. Intellectual property details are not required when you're giving your pitch. Emphasize how it's unique, how it stands out from its competitors and what it will do. Indicating the potential capabilities to the DoD and to the warfighter, not just selling the product. It's important. It may be an important technology, but it's not important just that you're another person who also makes this technology. Why are you unique about this technology? Something about your company has to stand out. And remembering that the military personnel here, they're not your customers, but they may very well know them. So keep that in mind. Graphics are really good, but only if they enhance your presentation. I've had people come to me and say, they have a really interesting graphic on the front of their presentation. And it's like, okay, what is that? And said, well, I don't know. I just thought it looked cool. So I thought it would get their attention. Make the graphics work for you. Otherwise, don't use them. Do something with them, show some capability or enhance some way, maybe showing an environment where this might be used or something that would really fit with your presentation. As far as videos go, we really encourage you not to use videos. They tend to give trouble, and the tech scouts, they tend not to want them. I've actually been chewed out by tech scouts saying, why did you allow them to use that video? If you really think you have to use one, then talk to your tech coach about it. But a lot of times what people do when they're working with a video is they'll cue their whole talk off the video. And then since we're doing this, some of these conferences remotely, on a remote conference, it may not be as much of a problem because you're running your own computer. But especially if you're running somebody else's computer, I would say the percentages of them not working is about 25 to 30% chance that it won't run because of some codec that's not there or something, or just having a bad attitude.
So I'm going to pause, Bill, for a second on that. I have found gosh, I'm trying to remember when I did it. Having a PowerPoint presentation, and it was for the MAC, for the Mission Acceleration Center. Now I remember, and there is a way to take a photograph and insert it in PowerPoint, and then insert a second photo on top of the first photo, and then the third photo on top of the second photo, and time it. So it basically, you click it. If you need video or you need picture progression, I don't know how to say it a better way, but you need to be able to demonstrate movement where they understand something that they might not get otherwise. I would recommend doing your picture and adding it. If you experiment with it and you practice it, hopefully with pitch practice with some others, and if they're clicking and it works fairly well, then you're probably fairly safe. Photographs are less hungry for bandwidth, and you can control that pitch, that progression, like Bill was talking about. And if a picture's worth 1,000 words and you need to show something, and I can think of several of our clients that I did not get what they were talking about. And whenever they moved it, when we saw it doing something, it was like, oh, but you didn't have to have video. You just needed to see it change if it altered some. So it's just something to think about. And it's a technical thing, but in 20 minutes, I melt down. I've had a meltdown before when I meet with Pittsburgh on Tuesdays. And a couple of weeks ago, my computer would not work with their teams. And I'm ahead of time. I'm sitting there waiting for the meeting. I know I've got 30 minutes and it crashes on me. And inside my head, everybody's making a mess. They're fussing and cussing, and I'm trying to focus. And then I get my phone out and I'm trying to shift, and I'm having an internal meltdown because I've prepared for all this. And then something that I have no control over just starts eating up my time. It can happen to you. If it hasn't happened to you, it can. And if you're cool, that's great. But under pressure, and you're sitting there with time and your adrenaline's running, it's a great way to just have an internal meltdown and your time is lost. That doesn't mean everything's lost. We can always try to bring people back and do something later, but it's an important time. So Bill in the video is a good point. You just think of control over to someone else, and you navigate through it with them controlling it. That's probably one of your best tests. Anyway, just wanted to pass that along.
A lot of times people cue their talk off of that, and when the video doesn't run, it makes them lose their whole track of their cell phone. If you end up using a video, click on it once. If it doesn't run, go on and be ready to go on. Assume that it won't run because it might not. And if you do use a video, make sure that it is as short as possible. We had one company that had about a 3-minute video, and almost all of the video was showing a UAV flying in the air, shooting pictures of the ground. And we all know that UAVs fly in the air and take pictures of the ground. But then about the last 30 seconds, then they started showing what they did with that video. But they wasted 2.5 minutes, and tech coaches told me that was a waste of time. We already get what we're doing. I would just point out one common question that comes up time and time again. So be ready for it. Is this made in America? Or what plans do you have to bring this back to America to be manufactured? Because if the military is going to use it, they're going to require that, except in maybe in very, very unique circumstances. So now we're going to talk about the presentation flow and getting ready for the presentation after you've got your pitch deck pretty much done. First of all, I would say practice pitches are very helpful. Please sign up and get practice pitch help. Out of everything that we do here with the Tech Innovation Center and Kansas SBDC and different conferences we help with, that's the #1 feedback we get, is that everything you did was very helpful, but the practice pitch was the most helpful. Where we go through and actually listen to you and try and give you an idea of how you came across, how much you emphasize one thing too much or not enough, other things you should have drawn out, so that your first pitch isn't the real pitch. Now, for the Encountering Innovation conference that we do, we'll just talk about the mechanics of the actual presentation. our conferences, typically we have a 1 minute window with a hard time break to the next presenter. So we like to say, think 9-9-2, 9 minutes to present, 9 minutes of Q&A, and 2 minutes to roll over to the next presenter. And if you're not out of there in 20 minutes, you'll have to be removed out of there so the next person can start. For other conferences, those times will vary, but it will be very similar. You're going to have a window allotted for pitch time and Q&A, and make sure to plan accordingly. You do not want to take so long in your pitch that you end up having very little Q&A time, because that's the feedback you really want. For those of you that haven't had a lot of experience in presenting, a good rule of thumb is about 1 to 2 slides per minute. So in the example above, for a 9-9-2 pitch, we ended up with a slide deck that was somewhere around 10 slides. That works pretty well. Some people are more comfortable with less slides, some are more. But what you don't want to do, you don't want to have so much information on the slide that it's hard to read. You don't want to be flipping through slides so fast that feels like a choppy video. You know, you're flipping every 5 seconds. You don't even have time to, the people in the audience don't even have time to read it. But 1 to 2 slides per minute is reasonable. Some events that we support actually go to another room right after your presentation with your tech coach, and then we review feedback steps, and we determine the next things that you should be doing for getting ready to move on. Sometimes it might be a phone call that needs to be made. Sometimes it might be editing documents. Sometimes after you pitch, the tech scouts will specifically say, I want your quad chart, the information paper, and your presentation. And actually what they call that a KIP, quad chart, information paper, and pitch deck, basically. And then the bluff, and then we'll talk about a POC document. So when they say, I want your KIP B POC, that means a specific set of documents that you should understand and you should already have ready. So that will be helpful. And sometimes they will say, I want those things, but before you send them to me, I want you to update them. That is so that they can actually refer to specific things in there that they know will most likely that they know will probably get attention by somebody that would be interested. So they want to emphasize a point. Sometimes it will actually say, I want you to make a separate set of documents for that technology that we talked about during our Q&A session, because there's a specific application I want you to target. When they ask you for that, they're already thinking of where they want to socialize it to. So don't be offended if they ask you to generate a second set of documents. That's actually a very good thing. Final thoughts. This is going to be a friendly audience, and they want to collaborate with you and share ideas with you. So what I would say is, think about sitting around the table with a group of sharp people that are really interested in your technology and have volunteered to be helpful. They may even interrupt you while you're doing your presentation, comment or ask a question. That's actually a good thing. It shows they're engaged, they're interested. So don't be intimidated. You want to do a good job and you want to come across professional, but they're not evaluating you based on how well you can stand in front of somebody and present. Remember, they're focused on the technology. So present that and then just relax and enjoy the interaction.
Okay, so questions, comments? There was a lot covered. Thoughts? Barbara, you gotta be thinking.
No, but I was talking to Mississippi about pitch just a little bit today, and I was like, the reasons why that we work so hard on the bluff and the quad chart, because, it expands into that pitch deck, and you don't want there to be any gotchas in there, and you want to make sure that you're prepared for questions. And so I think it's great to have those extra slides on the end to be prepared. And that's what the tech coach is there to help you do, is to prepare for most anything that may come up.
I think sometimes Barbara and myself, Bill, Vicky, I have to decide things from time to time, and in my decision making, I've learned to eliminate choices, right? So sometimes the easiest way to teach you or to help you is to help you understand what not to do. Bill kind of touched on it, but he didn't go into it much, so he didn't share with you. Most of you are the innovator, or you are a main part founder of this innovation. So you bring to the pitch room a lot of history, a lot of work, right? Kind of like a baby and a mom. The mother could go on and on about the labor, right? Well, another mother can relate to the labor. A dad really can't unless he was in there for 23 hours with her. For the most part, the rest of the people can't connect like the moms can. So unless you're talking to another innovator about or a lab and you're dealing with a lab, a lot of what you've got that connects you to what you're doing is very personal. So one of the things I will warn you about that can thwart collaboration is being defensive, where you feel like what they said was an affront. Bill said a while ago, remember, this is a collaborative conversation. I'm going to go even further and say they're your teammates. You are a part of a program that's been going now for 7 years. We've gotten based on the fact that you guys are here. So it's not what just we've done. If it wasn't for the innovators, we wouldn't have a program. If it wasn't for Barbara and the others, we wouldn't have a program. So it takes us all. But we built a reputation, and that reputation creates expectations, and it also creates appreciation. We are giving them something that they're not paying for, basically. They're getting a lot of high quality technology potential to choose from. And we're giving it to them as close as we can to exactly the way they want it. And we give them the information ahead of time, and then we support them afterwards. So the theory of reciprocity kicks in very well here. So when they tell you or recommend, could you add this? Could you do that? Or it sounds like they question something and it sounds like an affront. They're your teammate. And I got to go back to my football days. That's the team I was in the track. I threw the discus. It's kind of hard to think about the team and the throwing the discus. But I can remember when I had to block the nose tackle from tight end position. Well, that's a long way in football. And I missed 2 or 3 times, and they tackled our guy behind the scrimmage. So we talked among ourselves as to how to solve that, and we cheated down, and I got there. But if I couldn't have done it, I was going to have to trade with the tackle. And so when we go back to the huddle, Bruce is asking me, "What did you do? What happened?" Well, I got to tell him exactly what I did or what I didn't do, because he knows. Think of your tech scouts the same way. They are your teammates. They actually want to see you succeed. And so on the flip side of that, when you get defensive, and we all feel it, we all know it, we see it, and it's visual, and we can hear it. When that happens, collaboration just starts crumbling, and all of a sudden, it gets real quiet in the room. Barbara knows exactly what I'm talking about. When that happens, we can pretty much go, well, this one's toast. This one's done. So I'm encouraging you to pay attention and remind yourself, and tech coaches, remind your clients, this is a collaborative. We told you the process is extremely collaborative. We're here to work with you. We're not judging you. We're trying to prepare you. The tech scouts feel the very same way. And we have to remind them. Okay, so we try to remind them. But just if you keep that collaborative spirit happening, as soon as they ask a question, go, they're collaborating, welcome it. And if you're going to cover it, you can tell them I'm going to cover it, but go ahead and answer the question. Go ahead, whatever they ask, just go ahead and say, so the answer to that is 7.2. I'll actually cover that in a couple of slides and I'll go a little deeper. Turn off the mystery, because they're trying to think of, okay, where is he at with this, or where is she at with this? And as soon as you uncover the mystery, they go, oh yeah, that's the 7.2. That's not the 8.6. Okay, I got you. And then they're tracking with you, but then you can reveal as you go forward. If you have to flip the slides and just go ahead and flip forward, go right ahead. It's a collaborative conversation. Anyway, that's the main thing I want to try once in a while, where they got a lot of pride in what they're doing, and they turn a little.
Alan, you're cutting in and out.
Defensive. When that happens, things start to think. Or is there any questions? Yeah, I'm not on my Ethernet, so let me stop my video. All right, we'll try that. Is that better?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to, I'll turn it over to you where you can see if anyone's got any questions.
Are there any questions? And I did put in the chat box the link to sign up for a practice pitch session. It's also in an email that I sent you with that initial email I sent out. But we have those scheduled for October 23rd through the 27th. So please, we've got various times throughout those days. And I think we've allotted 30 or 40 minutes, something like that, enough time to actually go through your pitch presentation, and then also to have conversation, answer any questions and that for you as it pertains to the pitch or really anything else. So if you haven't and you want to do a practice pitch session, please go ahead and sign up for it.
So Vicki and Alan, for the pitch, do we bring physical prototype samples for show and tell?
So Scott, we don't recommend it. That's a tough question. First of all, if it's something the size of a dinner plate that is easy to hand around, that's one thing. We've had clients that had something that was about 4 foot long and 3 foot tall, and it was maybe 6 inches thick, and it came on wheels, kind of like a dolly. It was hard to move around. What they did do is they brought it and they took it to the green room and left it, and then they went into the pitch room and they referred to a picture of it, And they said, if you would like to see that, we'll be available. And then sure enough, at the break, two of the Tech Scouts made a beeline into the green room to take a look at it. So that's a tough question. The problem that I see with it, it's kind of like that picture worth 1,000 words. If you and I may think we can do two things at once, but our brain really can only do one thing at a time. It can switch back and forth, right? But if they're looking at this and you're talking, they're going to miss what you're saying at some point. It's going to cut in and out. And so we don't recommend it unless it's brief and it reveals something that you've noticed over and over, that the prototype in 30 seconds reveals 5 minutes of conversation that we try to explain. It opens up their eyes to something that they didn't understand. That's about the best way I can give you an answer. You're more than welcome to bring it because of networking. And there are times that Tech Scouts love to get their hands on stuff. So after work, after the conference, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's a good chance that they would like to go touch it.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
When Alan mentioned the green room, it just triggered a thought for me again is that whole process for when you're getting ready for the pitch, say you're scheduled on Tuesday, we'll ask you to, and I'll send information out to everyone, but we'll ask you to go into make it to the green room about 20 minutes prior to your pitch time. And then that gives, and your tech coach, they generally will meet you in there, and that gives you that 20 minutes to, talk through anything that you may have questions on, gives you the chance to make sure you've got, your presentation ready and everything else. And then you will then be escorted into the pitch room, and that's where you'll have your presentation. As I know we've said this before, but then we'll have scribes. There will be 2 scribes in the pitch room taking notes on questions that the Tech Scouts had, and it'll identify which Tech Scout asked which question. And then any referrals or recommendations they have, those will be noted in those scribe notes. Once you've completed your 20-minute pitch session, then you'll move into the red room. And the red room is your debriefing room. Your tech coach will be there, kind of looking. You'll have access to your scribe notes. You'll be able to print them off there, I believe, if you want. And then we will also email those to you as well for follow-up. And that's all I had.
Any
Anyone
other
have any-
questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
Doesn't
guess
look like it.
we're good to go then. I hope everything's moving forward for everyone. We're getting more and more innovators. So like I said, with that plus Hawaii, we expect to have hopefully a full program.
Oh, great.
I appreciate all of you SBDC folks that are participating as well. Like I said, we'll have to tell Oklahoma that Mississippi's taken over. They'll enjoy that.
We appreciate you very much.
Well, we appreciate all you guys. I'm very, very excited about the program. Like I've said before, this year has been tough because I'm seeing more and more ecosystem tools and people gathering, and we had less innovators, it seems like. So I was kind of freaking out, but things are coming together fairly well. So we're going to keep doing our part to make sure you guys have a full slate of support and opportunities.
Another thing too, everyone, we will not have we will have our training next Tuesday at 3, but we will not have one on Thursday morning.
Okay.
So just as a reminder. And when I send an email out, I'll make note of that, but since we got you all on here, FYI.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care. All right, do you need anything from me? I've got a 4 o'clock that I'm gonna jump on.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
I'll,
cool.
I'll
Thank you.
connect with you tomorrow.
Okay. I got your information. And I'll see if that solves my dilemma.
Okay. Well, if not, let me know.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.